to help us take a look at a couple other stocks that are weighing on the S&P 500 today. We've asked Scott Bauer, he's the CEO of Prosper Trading Academy, to join us. He's dialed in today, literally dialed in today, and joining us for a look at a few stocks he's got his eye on. Scott, welcome to Midday Movers. Thanks for calling in. The ripple effect from the coronavirus has been widespread, and you've got your eye on a few names that are being directly impacted, a few closely watched names, I should say. The crude on the move. Let's begin with Schlumberger and Devon in terms of DVN, some of the move that we've seen to the downside.
You know, I have a slightly different outlook between Schlumberger and Devon. Schlumberger, you know, Slob, what we used to call when we were back on the floor, it looks really, really awful. Technically, fundamentally, yes, I know the driver of, you know, the coronavirus with oil being, you know, just absolutely hammered here is sending many of these stocks lower. But even from a technical basis, Ben, after the 50-day crossed the 200-day, which was just about a week or so ago, which would have been a bullish sign, it really couldn't hold up there. And that's not good. That is really not good. So we're starting to make some, you know, a little bit lower lows here. And I think we could probably hit down another couple dollars here to that 30.5, 31 range in SLB.
Yeah, SLB currently trading down on the day, Scott. Well, they just hit that 5% level. They're right on the lows right now. We're talking a nickel off them, right at that $34 level. You mentioned potentially down to 31, but you also mentioned that you feel a little bit differently about Devon, ticker symbol DVN. They're also on lows here, currently trading down 5.5%, but why the difference in opinion here in between the two?
You know, with Devon, they actually have had a lot of analyst estimates revising their guidance and their earnings higher lately. And you typically see that before an earnings report. And I know Devon is still a few weeks out. It's not imminent. But you typically see that, and you get, you know, some decent metrics. Analysts usually don't go out on a limb and revise, you know, a stock higher or lower right prior to an earnings report unless there's good reason for it. So, you know, I really like DVN here. We didn't see the 50 and 200-day cross in DVN like we did in SLB. Okay. So I think although there could be, you know, maybe just a tiny bit more to the downside just because of the global worries here, I think Devon's at a good place here.
All right, talk to me, because you also have Halliburton on your radar today. Another stock that's down about 5%, 5.25. Ticker symbol HAL. Scott, what are you seeing there? What's the latest, and what do you got your eye on?
Almost a carbon copy of SLB. 50-day had just crossed over the 200. Okay. Looked like we were going to make some bullish moves here, and then wham, we get, you know, really slammed here, down 5+% today. Not just below, you know, down to the 50-day, but now trending back towards that 200-day, which had been massive resistance just for a long, long time. So technically here, I really don't like it. I think, you know, pick your poison here. Halliburton, Schlumberger, they're really one and the same to me.
Yeah, I've got them here side by side, almost an identical situation, both definitely rolling over. Halliburton still hanging in there a bit above that 21 level, but I can see how it does appear as if they're both breaking some key trend lines to the downside now, or trend lines that were in place to the upside, and they're breaking them to the downside. Scott, let's move on, because you got your eye on UTX as well. Talk to us about why and what's playing out there.
Yeah, so we have earnings coming out tomorrow morning, going to be very closely watched. Volume today is decidedly on the put side, Ben.
Interesting.
Over 2 to 1 puts versus calls traded today. It's really interesting because from a technical standpoint, the stock is almost hovering at some big support at the 50-day moving average. However, it couldn't break out above when it tried to get back above those recent highs at around 155 or so. So here's one that really I'd like to see this post earnings, because they may have some issues with some currency headwinds coming out of this earnings report. If this stock can hold at that 50-day moving average post earnings, which is right around 149.5 or so, I think that's a good entry spot. But I'm a little suspect in not getting into this prior to earnings.
Noted. I'd imagine investors are encouraged to see the move off that 150 level today with the broader market rallying back. It's good to see UTX only down by about 0.75% right now as they inch their way back to 152. Talking almost $2 off that low, Scott, so you're not alone with this one. Let's move on. One more you've got your eye on. We took a look at DR Horton a minute ago. You've got your eye on Pulte, though. Talk to us because it looks like, well, potentially, as they say, a rising tide lifts all boats.
I mean, in just such a bearish and red tape today, you get this stock here. And, why wouldn't it be, Ben? We saw really good numbers out of KB and DR Horton, and it's really hard to discount the builders right now. The Fed's not going anywhere.
Right,
Rates are not going anywhere.
Right.
However, if you look what happened with KB and DR Horton, both of them rallied on the earnings print, and then they sold off again.
Okay.
After they rallied initially. So I'm kind of looking for a similar report, similar occurrence in Pulte. If they rally on the print and then sell off, that's my entry point. That's when I want to get in.
Yeah, I've heard that called buy, rumor, sell, fact. And, with the bid that we've seen in some of the home builders and considering the new home sales numbers didn't come in that great today, you can understand why maybe we're seeing some of that price activity you mentioned. Scott Bauer, appreciate it. Scott's the CEO of Prosper Trading Academy, taking a look at a few names set to report and a few names that you should have your eye on in reaction to the coronavirus and some concerns, uncertainty related to. Scott, much appreciated. Thanks for joining us. Traders, we're going to take a quick break.